My name is Michael Riley. I have been a semi-professional photographer for 16 years. I hope in this tutorial to be able to show you how to take a portrait with what would be a simple point-and-shoot camera. Any camera you can buy at a convenience store at a Best Buy, put batteries in it, point it forward and take a picture without really understanding the more in-depth settings of the camera, and hopefully have it come out worth hanging on your wall. The first part of taking any portrait is finding a subject. Whether it's the most beautiful little girl in the world, drunken friends at your own wedding, or a statue, they are all set up the same. You need to be aware of their proportions. You don't want the subject and frame to be cropped out of frame at a bendable joint. By cropped out, I refer to anything left out of the final image. This is an extremely common event, and the mind tends to interpret what's cropped out of the frame at these joints as oddly missing, as if they were an amputee. Second, you need to be aware of who's next to them. You don't want people passing in front of the shot, or random shoulders, halves of heads, or hands. It takes away from the subject a hand. You also need to take in consideration what's behind the subject you're shooting. It's going to end up in your final image, so take the time to make sure you like it. We'll talk more about the background in a bit. Now you've picked your subject, are happy with your background, and made sure Uncle Bob, Cousin Tom, and anything else you don't want are out of the frame. It's time to place your subject within your shot. We are aided in this with the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is simply 4 imaginary intersecting lines you draw in your head that breaks up your shot into 9 equal parts. To keep this simple, if you line up what you're shooting along these lines or at their intersecting points, the photo will be more pleasing to the eye. This holds true for any photograph, but for the purpose of portraits with photographers who are just learning, try and line your subject's eyes with the top horizontal line. If they are looking at you, keep the subject in the middle. If they are looking to their right, keep them at the top left intersecting lines, and the opposite if they are looking left. All these steps are crucial to taking a good portrait, and lighting is no exception. Daylight provides a soft, very flattering light, but when conditions are not optimal, your camera's flash is an invaluable tool. I recommend to keep it on auto and letting the camera decide when to fire the flash until you become more comfortable with the settings of your camera. Elizabeth's photo on the left had an appropriate use of flash, providing a well-lit portrait. My friend Jennifer on the right had a flash on manual with an already adequate amount of daylight, causing her to be too bright and ruining the shot. Now on the other hand, Devin on the left has a picture taken in low light without a flash, providing a very dark image and again ruining the shot, while my photo on the right was taken with an adequate light, not needing a flash. If you're using sunlight or your own source of light, make sure the light source is facing your subject to prevent any harsh shadows. Last but not least is depth of field. Depth of field is how much is in focus from your subject to the furthest object in the background. In this photo of my friend Nick and his wife, we see a very shallow depth of field. The lights in the background are blurred out to beautiful balls of light. This is an ideal way to shoot your portraits. It keeps your subject as the main focus, and the blurry, washed-out background complements instead of distracts from the photo. The ability to control depth of field can define a good photographer from an excellent photographer. And without knowing the more advanced settings of your camera, the easy way to do this is to keep your subject as far away as possible from the background. On the other hand, if your portrait needs to relate to its background, shooting it closer to the background will give you a greater depth of field, leaving more of a distance and focus from your subject. Taking photographs is easy. Taking them well takes practice and a general understanding of who you're shooting, where you're shooting them, in what conditions, and how you want the photo to look. Master these simple points, and like me, you're on your way to being asked to shoot every family member, friend of friend, or random person's wedding, bar mitzvah, or school function for free from now until eternity. I'd also like to add that any photographs in this tutorial are the sole property of Chimera Photography, or used with permission from the owners of the photographs. Any textures or music has been obtained by license by Chimera for use in private or commercial applications from videocopilot.net.